So I was inside of a restaurant and I got this alert from my Yahoo News app to my phone that said the Supreme Court has approved a $2.5 billion budget to fund 45's border wall. And the first thing that came out of my mouth when I saw that is he has just locked his reelection in. Everyone knows might as well just not even continue to run. He's already closed his reelection for 2020. Because this is all he needed right here. This was the campaign that he pretty much ran heavily on back in 2016. And now that he's got the funding for this wall, he's definitely going to get it now. For sure. I mean, I already knew he was going to get reelected, but this one pretty much puts the nail in the coffin. It reads, the Supreme Court cleared the way Friday for the Trump administration to tap billions of dollars in Pentagon funds to build sections of a border wall with Mexico. The court, 5 conservative justices, gave the administration a green light to begin work on 4 contracts as awarded using Defense Department money. Funding for the projects had been frozen by lower courts while a lawsuit over the money proceeded. The court's 4 liberal justices wouldn't have allowed the construction to start. The justices' decision to lift the freeze on the money allows Donald Trump to make progress on a major 2016 campaign promise heading into his race for the second term. Trump tweeted after the announcement, "Wow, big victory on the wall. The United States Supreme Court overturns lower court injunction, allows southern border wall to proceed. Big win for border security and rule of law." The Supreme Court's action reverses the decision of a trial court which initially froze the funds in May and an appeals court which kept that freeze in place earlier this month. The freeze had prevented the government from tapping approximately $2.5 billion in Defense Department money to replace existing sections of barrier in Arizona, California, and New Mexico with more robust fencing. The case the Supreme Court ruled in began after the 35-day partial government shutdown that started in December of last year. Trump ended the shutdown in February after Congress gave him approximately $1.4 billion in border wall funding, but the amount was far less than $5.7 billion that he was seeking. And Trump then declared a national emergency to take cash from other government accounts to use to construct sections of the wall. The money Trump identified includes $3.6 billion from military construction funds, $2.5 billion in Defense Department money, and $600 million from the Treasury Department's asset forfeiture fund. The case before the Supreme Court involved just the $2.5 billion in Defense Department funds, which the administration says will be used to construct the more than 100 miles of fencing. The project would replace 46 miles of barrier in New Mexico for $789 million. Another will replace 63 miles in Arizona for $646 million. The other 2 projects in California and Arizona are smaller. The other funds were not at issue in the case. The Treasury Department funds have so far survived legal challenges, and Customs and Border Protection has earmarked the money for work in Texas' Rio Grande Valley, but has yet not rewarded contracts. Transfer of the $3.6 billion in military construction funds is awaiting approval from the Defense Secretary. The lawsuit at the Supreme Court was brought by the American Civil Liberties Union on behalf of the Sierra Club and Southern Border Communities Coalition. The justices who lifted the freeze on the money did not give a lengthy explanation for their decisions, but they said among the reasons they were doing so was that the government had made a sufficient showing at this stage, that those bringing the lawsuit don't have a right to challenge the decision to use the money. Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan would not have allowed construction to begin. Justice Stephen Breyer said he would have allowed the government to finalize the contracts for the segments but not begin construction while the lawsuit proceeded. The administration had argued that if it wasn't able to finalize the contract by September 30th, then it would lose the ability to use the funds. The administration had asked for a decision quickly. The Supreme Court is on break for the summer, but does act on certain pressing items. Isn't it amazing the Supreme Court is usually on break on certain things, and they still get paid? They remind me so much of Congress in a way. Well, you get what I mean. But looks like 45 and his supporters got what they wanted. And honestly, with how this stuff with the immigrant stuff has been going on, it's in their hands now. But now, like I said in the beginning of this video before I started reading, he has locked in his reelection because that was what he ran his campaign on. And now he has it. but they still need to cut the check, though. It's amazing they can find money for everything except for us, but we know they be lying. We know they got the funds. But when you really think about it, do you know how many billions it takes to get to $1 trillion? So if they say we need $17.1 trillion, imagine how many billions that is just to get to 17.1 trillion on the low end, when you really break it all down. But I guess you could say that's a win for them. And the illegal immigrants, your days are really numbered at this point. If the illegal immigrant, if they came over and they got their stuff legally and didn't interfere with us, especially getting gainful employment or a lot of other things, we probably wouldn't have a problem with this, but there's a huge issue there. So at this point, I don't really care what happens to them. You know, I don't like seeing families broken up, especially since what our ancestors had to go through during slavery, but we got to live too, because, well, we're from here and they're getting our rights. How many videos have I done talking about illegal immigrants and them, you know, getting driver's licenses, them getting health care? I'm like, and it's on our dime. So at this point, it is what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.